new poll out that has Mitt Romney +3, that has Barack Obama losing support among union voters, that has all kinds of interesting morsels of information, not the least of which is people tend to like very simple ideas of fiscal reform. For that, we turn to the best guy on the question, or in fact, just the idea, and that is Congressman Paul Ryan, my adopted congressman from District 1. Welcome to the program.
Hey, how you doing, Vicki?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fabulous. Yes, at some point, I am going to look at District 1 to move.
I didn't say it.
You were gonna, Vicki, I got a realtor for you.
I didn't say it. I got a realtor for you in Janesville. Just let me know. I'll give her a call.
Let's start out with the Romney visit to Janesville. Janesville, notably, that's your district. He is going to be making a campaign stop at a manufacturer. We have seen fantastic news coming out for Wisconsin manufacturers. And so, you know, he is paying attention to Wisconsin. Suddenly, Wisconsin in play for everybody here.
For sure. Look, I'm a fifth-generation Janesville native. It's not every day we get the nominee of your party running for president coming to your hometown. So it's pretty exciting for us in Janesville. And this is his kickoff bus tour of the general election. And he's going to, I think, New Hampshire, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Just a handful of states for this first kickoff bus tour. Well, it just tells us what kind of priority it is. Wisconsin is, partly because of the recall, but definitely because of the recall, in the top tier of battleground states. And Mitt Romney is going to compete hard here. The latest poll has him ahead. It's going to be close. And, you know, our 10 electoral votes are really, I think you could argue, are up for grabs. And so we Wisconsinites are going to have an enormous and disproportionate effect on this election. This election, you know, comes down to, you know, about a dozen battleground states. And we're clearly going to be one of those. And we will decide, you know, the trajectory of America for a long, long time, because we have a big choice of two futures to make in this election. The consequences couldn't be greater than any election we've ever participated in before. And I think we're fortunate as Wisconsinites. Now, it also means that we're going from one, you know, huge election to yet another one. And so I know we want to breathe easy and, you know, have a nice summer. But my guess is in Wisconsin, we're going to be targeted again. And so we'll have a Senate primary in August, and then the all general elections for the presidency in November in Wisconsin, again, is going to be in the epicenter.
Look, I think the conservatives in Wisconsin are perfectly comfortable with, you know, going until November. I don't see any sign of people slowing down. Oh. I was stunned when I saw the enthusiasm level continue to build and increase as every single bongo was beaten, as every death threat was made. Conservative resolve got tougher, got greater, more and more people engaged, and I don't think they're going away.
That's exactly what I've been just going around the state, and mostly my district, doing advisory boards, doing events, office hours. People are pumped. I was up in De Pere on Tuesday night with Reed Ribble. And people are coming out of the woodwork. They're really excited. They're moving forward. I didn't sense election fatigue. I sensed momentum.
That's what I sensed.
I really do. I was just in Milwaukee a half hour ago with Jim Sensenbrenner and Becky Clayfish, you know, doing an event there, and people are really, really motivated. I talked to a lot of healthcare professionals in Elkhorn last night, and realtors and builders and local community bankers. They want to get on with this election. They want to get their country back. They feel like we've made a difference in getting our state back. They want to get their country back, and they know in Wisconsin we got a big say-so. And so I get the sense that people are leaning forward and are really excited. And we're building on the momentum that was started in 2010, that was capstoned, you know, a week ago Tuesday, and that I think is moving to a crescendo in the fall.
All right, let's talk about, I think, why. And I think why the recall failed. No message. No message. Same is going on with Obama right now. He's got no message. In fact, James Carville just advised him to go back to the blame Bush meme. So we're back to blame Bush. We're back to it was the other guy's fault. Just trust me, it sucks right now. But if you give me 4 more years, it's gonna be, you know, rainbows and ponies. It is, you know, you are a proxy for the Bush administration. They point to Paul Ryan. They say, look, he wants to throw grandma off a cliff. You are the guys who have been the only serious people in Washington, producing the only serious budget, producing the only serious cuts, the only people who are actually talking about real issues. President Obama just wants to talk division and class warfare.
It's exactly how I see it. I see it exactly as you said it, Vicki. And what I've learned in southern Wisconsin, in an area, in a district that went for Barack Obama by 4 points in 2008, but went for Scott Walker by 15 points in the recall, what I get out of this is people are hungry for leaders to lead. They're hungry for solutions. They're hungry for people that take a stand, have a bedrock of principles, put together reforms and solutions, and go try and solve problems. And they will reward those problem solvers for doing that. That's what I get from all the people I talk to in southern Wisconsin in the 1st District. And they don't want to vote for somebody who's just pointing the fingers of blame, making excuses, and trying to make you channel your fear, your anxiety somewhere else as an excuse to get reelected. I really think because the president, and the Walker Barrett recall was like this as well, because the president's literally offering no solutions to the debt crisis because he's trying to blame all the economic malaise on somebody else or something else. I don't think it really goes over well with people. President Obama had his party in total control of Washington for the first 2 years of his term. He got virtually everything passed into law he wanted to pass, and these policies have not been in place for at least 2 years. We've lived under them for 2 years. He's implemented them. He's implementing health care reform, and look at the results. The results are in. They're terrible, and so he cannot run on this record. He did not change tune and moderate in the second 2 years. So all he seems to have left is what you just said, divide the country in order to distract the country and to play the politics of envy and fear, class envy and fear. And I just don't think it's going to work. It's not who we are. We are an opportunity society. We believe in upward mobility. We believe in prosperity and opportunity. And that's what we want to get back to. And all this blame game, divide and conquer, I just don't think it's going to work.
They failed on being honest about progressivism. I was just talking about this today. They failed about being honest about progressivism. They were honest. At least at some point, Barack Obama said, hey, this is what we're going to do with health care. And the American public said, look, the stimulus spending that you promised us was going to create jobs. This wonderful health care bill that is now raising the cost of our health care and forcing companies to shut down their plans. All of these things that the progressives got to, sugarcoat for the last 50 years, Barack Obama served it up, and people hated it. So now he's got to figure out a way to distract people from what they have now perceived as the failure of the establishment left in America. I think that's one of the best possible outcomes we could have ever expected from this guy.
Yeah, I think that's right. Unfortunately, we have a lot of economic collateral damage in the wake of it. And the big concern I have is we don't have time for this anymore because we're going to have a debt crisis staring us in the face. What is happening in Europe is what will happen in this country in a short period of time if we don't get ourselves turned around. If we don't deal with this deficit and debt, if we don't get our economy growing again, if we stay on this path that he has us on, more borrowing, more spending, higher taxes, slower economic growth, and a tsunami of regulations, that is going to bring our country to a screeching stagnation, and it's going to give us a debt crisis. And in that debt crisis, the people who need government the most, the poor, the elderly, they get hurt the first and the worst. That's what we want to avoid. We want to make sure that our kids get a better standard of living than what we had, that they're better off. You don't have that with a debt crisis. We want to make sure that we have an economy that's growing and creating jobs and prosperity. You don't have that in that debt crisis, and he's bringing us faster to one. So we need to win so we can prevent a European-style stagnation and debt crisis.
And you actually produced information before Congress that said we could actually start seeing this debt crisis hit us in 2014. That was a pretty startling date to me. We'd been told it could be 10 years or unknowable. And there is actually a study that says, really? Actually, it is kind of knowable. If we keep on the same path, it's coming inevitably very, very soon.
The next president and the next Congress will determine what kind of country we have for a long time. I'm not trying to say this in some kind of a gloom and doom way. It's just a function of math. The next president and the next Congress will determine whether we prevent a debt crisis or have a debt crisis and what kind of country we're going to be for a long time.
People just, I think the problem, and the only problem really, and I think this perhaps is a challenge for Governor Romney, And it is a challenge for Republicans to explain what it looks like at the, at the ground level, at the House level, at the family level. This is you wake up one day and suddenly an unmitigated disaster has descended upon you. Healthcare costs, gasoline costs, energy price, all of these things suddenly just go gazang. State budgets upside down, pension funds upside down, all of these things. And we are left just saying, now what do we do? And what do we do, Paul, if we hit a debt crisis?
Well, a debt crisis is similar to what happened in 2008. And what happened in 2008 is we ended up having a massive recession, and the Federal Reserve just gave us a study that showed people lost 40% of their wealth in America since that time, over the last 4 years. And a debt crisis would be worse than that kind of an episode. You have an interest rate spike. You have the bond markets turning on you. You could have a stagflation problem where you have really high unemployment and inflation. We lose our purchasing power. Our currency gets debased. And we have an economic recession, a deep one. And that's what we want to avoid from happening. Because what's great about the moment we're in on the upside is it's not too late to turn it around. We haven't passed that tipping point of debt where we are not going to be able to come back and grow. We can still have a renaissance in this country. We can still get this economy growing like it ought to be growing. Usually after a deep recession, we grow out of it really fast, 4, 5, 6% growth. We're limping along at growth below 2% because of government policies. But if we get the government policies right, economic freedom, regulatory reform, get this debt and deficit under control, reform the tax code, show that we're getting our fiscal house in order, then we can turn around and grow and get the American engine of opportunity and upward mobility turned back on again. And I really do believe we could be the port in the storm in the global economy, and America will be the renaissance. America will be the place that companies want to locate, where they want to expand, where people want to invest their money, and we can get our economy turned around if we get our policies right. But we have a window of opportunity that is beginning to close. That's why I say it's the next president and the next Congress who will really determine the outcome of all of this.
It can turn around fast. We actually have seen misery. Wisconsin's a great example. I mean, we say 16 months. Governor Walker and the Republicans turned around Wisconsin in 5 months, not 16. It was actually 5 months before you started things becoming notably better, out of debt. Our structural deficit gone, a surplus instead. Look what that did for Wisconsin, for our income growth, for our revenue growth. And the same thing, you simply apply simple principles, back off government, lower tax rates, make investment more productive in the United States, get the wet blanket of regulation, and at the very least, dry it out a little bit. And that's the kickstart. It's not hard, except it's politically hard.
That's exactly right. We know what to do. We know we have the most predictable economic crisis in our country's future on the horizon, and we still have time to prevent it from happening. And we know what we need to do to prevent it. We just need the political leadership to do it. We've exercised that leadership and showed it in the House. It's a threat to the president because he has not offered a solution. It's a threat to the Senate because they haven't passed a budget in 3 years. And so rather than, try and come up with their own alternative solutions and debate the merits between the two, they've decided to offer no solutions and simply attack ours. I don't think people are going to reward that. That's not leadership. That's ducking and running. That's avoiding responsibility. That's being complicit with the status quo, which is a very dangerous trajectory that we have ourselves on. And I just don't think people are going to buy it.
Purple State, Wisconsin didn't buy it. So I have quite a bit of optimism here. Congressman Paul Ryan, thank you very much for the time.
You bet, Vicki. Have a good one.
Awesome to have you on the air.